last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. Yes, once again, yours truly has been a victim of Facebook jail. And somebody sent me a cyber cake with a file in it, and I was able to escape from Facebook jail. And once again, viewers, if you didn't watch me last week, it's because the gods who run Facebook hate me. They don't like the fact that I, for free, share my site to different groups and to different friends and post it on different places, and I don't pay a dime for that. And I was getting a lot of hits and a lot of views. I've been getting, thousands of people watching my show and watching it and sharing it with their friends. And Facebook doesn't like that. They say that well, they don't tell me what I did wrong. All I can do is assume what I did wrong, because they never say, you broke this rule or you broke that rule, and therefore we're going to ban you and throw you in Facebook jail. They just send you a link saying you are now not able to share your links or post anything on any sites for the next week. They don't tell you why. There's no due process, no appellate rights, nothing. And so I can only speculate as to what I've done wrong, and all I can think of is that I'm sharing too much. Now, they call that spam, but it's not really spam, because all the groups that I share to are groups that I'm a member of that I've actually joined. And none of these groups have ever protested or told me that I'm not allowed to share these things, or ever asked that I be banned or excluded from their groups. No, Facebook just does it themselves. And this is why they're hypocritical. The reason why they're hypocritical is because if I wanted to pay for advertising, they would let me post everywhere. I could post 100 times more than I currently post, as long as I'm willing to pay for it. So the problem isn't spamming. The problem isn't the way that I might be insulting their readership or their viewers. Hell, if I was Russia, they wouldn't have any problems taking my money. No, the problem is that I'm not willing to pay for it, and that I've been able to do it free and organically. And I'm going to keep trying to do it free and organically, and I'm going to keep trying to figure out their method of allowing me to get as many people to watch the show as possible, because I want to get this message out, because it's a very important message. And those of you who missed the show, what I want you to do is, I keep forgetting to tell you, but go to a website called WeBeamTV.com. You don't have to watch the show on Facebook. It's WeBeamTV.com. Not only can you live stream it on that site at 7 o'clock every Wednesday, but you can watch all the past episodes of the show Fightback as well. So all of the episodes of the season you can watch at WeBeamTV.com. And then if you started watching it there, I don't have to worry about pissing off the powers that be at Facebook. But thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Even those people who don't like what I have to say, thanks for your comments. I really appreciate it. I think it's kind of strange, however, when some people comment without watching the show, because sometimes they say things which completely contradict what I say on the show. Like I get people saying, why do you want to ban guns? Right after I had a show in which I say, I'm not trying to ban your guns. So if you actually watched what I had to say, instead of just repeated the propaganda given to you by the NRA and the gun manufacturing lobbyists, then you might actually learn something, and we might have an intelligent conversation. I really respect those who disagree with me, who obviously have watched the show and comment about specific things I said on the show. That's how democracy is supposed to work. At least listen to other viewpoints before forming your own. Treat people with respect. I really like when people disagree with me. Please do it more often. That's how we grow as a people. That's how you grow as an individual. Okay. Now, let me recap what we've been talking about. I told you that we're going to be talking about guns, and we're going to keep talking about guns. And I've been talking about how we're going to break up the power of the NRA, which I said is an organization that doesn't try to reduce death, but actually tries to promote death. Why? Because statistics show that when people die, their gun sales go up. And when gun sales go up, more money in the manufacturers, more money for the owners of the gun manufacturers, more money then gets sent to the lobbyists, more money then gets sent to the politicians who vote based upon what their donors tell them to vote, not what their conscience tells them, not what their constituents want. Okay? And the NRA has become a propaganda machine, telling lies, telling spins, so that people don't even pay attention to the argument. They just know what they're told to know. They just make the same arguments over and over and over again, repeating the same ad nauseum gibberish until you get sick of hearing it. Like one, for instance, that we hear all the time is, I heard this one. This happened right after the person got in the truck, the terrorists, and started running over people. Well, why don't they just ban cars then? Why don't they ban trucks? It's not against the law to have a car, and cars kill more people than guns each year. Why don't we just ban cars? You guys have no problem taking away our guns, but you don't say we should take away our cars. Well, let me address that propaganda that the NRA likes to talk about. Okay, well, let's see. First of all, I've never ever said, let's take away your guns. We're not trying to take away your guns, okay? So we're not trying to take away your guns. We're not trying to take away your cars. What we are asking to do is to have laws that protect people while respecting people's right to have guns and respecting people's rights to have cars, okay? People have to have driver's licenses. People have to have registration. People have to have insurance. People have to have proof of ownership. We have speed limits. We have age limits. We have restrictions on the type of cars you're allowed to drive on the road. You're not allowed to drive an Indy car down US 19 in Pinellas County. You're not allowed to do that. Okay, there's restrictions on that. That's how we think we should have about guns. The same way we have driver's licenses, the same way we have insurance, the same way we say certain people can't drive, the same way we say people have to take a test to make sure they know how to use a car. Okay? So yes, guns and cars are both dangerous, except only one is designed to kill people. And we regulate car usage and we have to regulate gun usage. But when we come back after this next break, we're going to talk about the way I think we can hit them where it really hurts.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Hot Locks Hair Salon. We are conveniently located at 13414 US Highway 19 in Hudson. I've been a local hairstylist in our community for the last 34 years, 7 of which I was an educator. Our passion is the artistry of hair, and Hot Locks is here to help you achieve your perfect image. You can call us at 727-514-9978.
Hi, it's me, Steve Bartlett, again on Fightback. Last week we talked about ways that we can try to break up the power of the NRA. And what I did is I talked about not things specific about guns, but the big picture. How what we need to do is we need actually major reform in our country that actually affects gun policy and all other policies that stops our country from being a plutocracy. What we needed, based upon what I said last week, was reform in the area of lobbyists. Last week I talked about how we need reform in the area of campaign finances and how we have to get rid of dark money in politics. Okay? However, this week I'm going to be more specific about how we can actually break the backs of the NRA and their power by hitting them right where it hurts in the wallet. Okay? And this is specifically what I'm asking to do. The first thing we can do to nail the NRA and the gun manufacturing specific, because the NRA is just a lobbying group for the gun manufacturers. So when I say NRA, I mean the gun manufacturers. It's just easier to say NRA than gun manufacturers. So this is the way we nail them. We raise the taxes on guns. Okay? We raise the taxes. We hit them in the pocketbook. Right now, Firearm tax is about 10% on firearms. That's the current federal tax rate on firearms. Let's double it to 20%. That cuts down on their profits. Less profits for the gun manufacturers, less money that they can pay off the politicians to write laws that actually increases death as opposed to decreasing death. Okay, that's an idea that I have. Second idea that I have is we can put a cap on the amount of new guns that are produced each year. Okay, currently there's approximately 11 million firearms that are produced in the United States each year. We have as many guns as we have human beings in the United States, and that is stupid. We don't need to have as many guns as we have people. Nobody else in the world comes close to us. Okay, we need to put a cap on the amount of guns or new guns that can be manufactured each year. So we're not taking away your old guns. We're just going to put a limit on the amount of new guns that the gun manufacturers can sell each year. Okay? I believe that would be constitutional because the government in times of crisis can put quotas and can put limits on the production of things and regulate the economy that way. I think that because we have an epidemic of gun deaths, that it would be in the national interest of our country to put a limit on the amount of guns that are manufactured each year, new guns. And for the same reason, we could also put a cap on the amount of ammunition that we make each year. Something that's more controversial, which I would be for, and I know a lot of you guys would hate, is we could put a cap on the amount of guns and the amount of ammunition that an individual person can buy each year. There's no need for a person to have an unlimited armory of firearms. There's no reason for someone to have an unlimited amount of ammunition. The Supreme Court ruled that you have an absolute fundamental right to have a gun for your own protection. You don't have your own right to be your own regulated militia. You don't have a right to be your own army, your own armory. Okay, so let's put limits on that. That's what we actually need to do. We need to put limits on the amount of guns and ammunition that an individual can actually be able to own. Okay, and the reason this is going to help is besides decreasing the amount of money that is then generated by the gun manufacturers, which therefore limits the amount of money that is used to legally bribe our politicians and the other plutocrats who run Washington, D.C. What this will actually do is it would decrease the amount of guns that are in society. And it would do it in a way that's not unconstitutional because the government's not going to be seizing guns from any way. They're going to be using the power of the market in order to decrease the amount of firearms in society. And as I showed in a previous episode, if you don't remember, you can go back and watch it, there is a direct correlation between the amount of guns that are in society and the amount of deaths that are caused by guns in society. Okay? So the less guns you have, the less gun deaths that you have. Now people say that's a crock, that the more guns you have, the safer you have, but if that were to be the case, the United States would have one of the lowest deaths by murder, one of the lowest crime rates in the world, one of the lowest firearm deaths in the world. When I've said over and over again that you go to a country like Japan or England, there's so much less deaths because they have so much less guns. And I showed that it's not just the United States compared to every other country in the world. You can compare, there's a direct correlation between the amount of guns a society has and the amount of gun violence that a society has. These are facts. These are not propaganda that the NRA is trying to get people to buy. I told you the other way that the NRA likes to work their propaganda machine is by limiting the information that people have. There's basically a gag order stopping the government from being able to do research into the causes of gun violence and the causes of gun deaths, and that needs to stop. We should never be afraid of the truth. We should never be afraid of statistics. We should never be afraid of research. If people are ignorant and are afraid, then we're never going to progress as a society, okay? If statistics show that something isn't working, we need to know that a proposal that I'm coming up with isn't working. The only way you can do that is by measuring it and doing studies, coming up with statistics. We need to end that as well, okay? We need to stop this ability of the gun manufacturers through the NRA lobbying group for being able to buy our politicians and then lie to the rest of us. And people just buy these lies all the time, okay? Another way that we can beat the NRA and hit them where they make money is by repealing the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, or the PLCAA. Sorry I keep looking down, but I don't have a teleprompter, I don't have a screen that I can look at, and I have my notes, and sometimes I lose track of what I'm actually going to say, okay? But what we actually have to do is we need to be able to sue the gun manufacturers directly. Now, I used to sit there and I used to be on the side of the gun manufacturers by saying, because I'm an attorney, why can you sue somebody for something that they designed if the design is working perfectly? Like, for instance, in the idea of product liability, if a car is working fine and a car is being used for what it's designed to be used, and you get hurt due to no problem with its design, due to no problem with the negligence design of the car, you shouldn't be able to sue the manufacturer of an automobile. Because if it's not being used for a purpose that it's not supposed to be used and it's being done properly, and you know the risks when you actually get involved in the car, then you shouldn't be able to sue the manufacturer of an automobile. Okay, only if there's a design flaw should you be able to sue. So I used to say, well, the same thing with a gun. The gun is designed to kill people. The gun is designed to hurt people. So if you use the gun for what the gun is designed to do, why should you sue the manufacturer for the gun for doing what they're promising the gun is going to do? Now, obviously, if the gun, when you fire the trigger, if there's something wrong with the manufacturer, and the gun blows up in your face, like on the season finale of The Walking Dead, where the gun blows up and all of Negan's guys had their hands blown off, okay, then yes, everyone would agree that you should be able to sue the manufacturer because the device isn't working properly. But the argument has always been, why should you sue the gun manufacturer if the gun manufacturer isn't doing something wrong and the gun wasn't designed incorrectly? And a big progressive, one of my heroes, also agreed with this position, Bernie Sanders. Bernie was against being able to sue gun manufacturers as well, and because of that same argument that, hey, the gun isn't doing anything that it's not designed to do, and therefore if it's illegal to have these guns and make these guns, how can you sue them for doing something that they're designed to do? Okay, well, now before 2004, you were allowed to sue gun manufacturers, and there was actually a good thing about that, because the gun manufacturers were afraid of being sued. And because they were afraid of being sued, there was bargaining power between the government and the gun manufacturers out of this fear, which allowed the gun manufacturers to voluntarily start regulating their actual products. In other words, year 2000, Smith & Wesson reached an agreement with the government to adopt additional safety procedures on the firearms that they were producing. Now, the reason they did this is because the government had the ability to sue them, private individuals had the ability to sue them, and so Smith & Wesson was able to work out a deal with the federal government. But before I tell you how, we have a phone call right now from a listener. What's the name of the listener? Do you have that name? Uh-oh, I think it was just a prank caller. I just hear heavy breathing. It's heavy breathing. I don't know who it is. Oh my gosh, it's heavy breathing. Maybe it's Mike Pence watching A Handmaid's Tale. I have no idea who it is. But if you want to call and ask any questions, be my guest, okay? But anyway, oh, it's Morgan. Hello, Morgan. Is the phone caller back? Hello, this is Steve. Who's this?
Morgan.
Hi, Morgan. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I wanted to find out when we'll have open carry in Florida.
When can we have open carry in Florida? I don't know.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
I want to carry my gun in public so people won't harass me.
Well, if you don't want people to harass you, the best thing to do is act in a way that isn't confrontational and be like a regular law-abiding citizen. Carrying a gun around Yes.
With open carry, that's a great idea. It's very easy to do with open carry. When do you think we'll be able to have open carry in Florida?
Hopefully the answer to that is never. But I'm sure if we don't do something about the NRA and their ability to pay off politicians, they will probably allow open carry, because in all likelihood open carry will increase the deaths, which will increase profits, which will increase this cycle of the more people die, the more likely the gun manufacturers will lobby for laws that create death as opposed to preventing it. Okay? So if we have any more calls, feel free to give me a call. The number should be flashing on the screen, and when we get back, I'm going to talk to you more about why we should repeal the PLCAA.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Hot Locks Hair Salon. We are conveniently located at 13414 US Highway 19 in Hudson. I've been a local hairstylist in our community for the last 34 years, 7 of which I was an educator. Our passion is the artistry of hair, and Hot Locks is here to help you achieve your perfect image. You can call us at 727-514-9978.
Welcome back to Fight Back. Let me tell you the theory about how we can sue gun manufacturers, not for their design flaws, not for designing the product, but for something else. Back a couple years ago, remember when they had the Beltway sniper shooting in which Mohammed and Malvo shot all those people? I think it was like 17 people were killed. Okay, there was a lawsuit that was filed by one of the victims' families. They sued the gun manufacturer and they sued the retailer. And what we don't realize is that people don't buy guns directly from the manufacturer. Okay, people buy guns from the retailer. The gun manufacturers, the Smith & Wessons, the big firearm manufacturers, they sell their weapons to retailers, and then the retailers turn around and sell them to the public. But a lot of retailers are very sleazy and don't follow the law. Okay, in the case of the Beltway sniper shooting lawsuit, the retailer failed to keep required records and negligently lost 238 guns. They had a bad inventory and they were selling guns to people that weren't supposed to get them. And you know what? The gun manufacturers who supplied that retailer didn't care. Even though it became out that they were breaking all kinds of regulations and laws about the required method of keeping these records, the gun manufacturers continued to sell and provide the retailers with those weapons. As a result of that, they were negligently selling. It was, I think, the Bushmaster Company was negligently selling to the retailer, and they were held to be liable because they have an obligation to not sell to those people who break the law. As a result of that, the gun manufacturer was sued for $2.5 million. Okay? Now that's a good sense of liability that I never thought of. They're not being sued for the design, they're being sued for negligently providing their product to people who are selling it and aren't following the laws, and they knew about it. Okay? They knew about it and they didn't care. However, in 2004, the genius George W. Bush passed a law called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which gave them immunity. You could no longer sue under that theory. The Aurora, Colorado shooting in the movie theater, okay? What happened is the people bought their guns off of the internet, and the gun manufacturers had no rules or regulations saying how they were going to provide to their retailers who were selling things online. And as a result, they weren't following the rules, they weren't following the laws. The gun manufacturers were selling to them anyway, and they came up with illegal guns, and then people died as a result of that. They tried to sue the gun manufacturers under the same theory. However, that stupid law that was passed under George W. Bush prevented liability, and the people got nothing. The gun manufacturers not only didn't have to pay a dime for ignoring the law and face no civil penalty, no criminal penalty, but the poor family had to pay $200,000 in legal fees for the sleazy lawyers representing the gun manufacturers. That has to be changed. We need to repeal that law. Let's nail the NRA. Let's nail the gun manufacturers by making them responsible when they purposely, in order to make profit, sell guns to those they know should not be selling those guns to other people. If you sell to a retailer, then your ass is responsible for what happens if you know the retailer isn't following the proper procedure and not following the laws and not following regulations. That's absolutely wrong. And finally, the other way I think we should go after the NRA is to start new organizations that are going to be different than the NRA. Okay, the NRA has broken its promise of caring about protecting people. Instead, they want people to die because they make more money for the gun manufacturers. I'm not against hunters. I'm against the purpose of the NRA when it was first established, which was to protect people, to create safety. So members of the NRA, people who like their guns, stop giving them your dues and start your own grassroots organizations. Teach your kids to shoot safely. Don't be against protecting the public. And next week, we're going to have a special episode. For the first time in the new season, we're going to actually have a guest. Okay, our guest is Brandy Goyette, who is running for county commissioner in Pasco County. So don't miss next episode when Brandy Goyette is here, and she's going to be talking about what it's like to run for county commissioner in Pasco County. See you next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Share this with your friends. Share it. How'd I do?
How's it going?
Is it good?
Yeah. Sounds great.
Thank you. Did you like my call out the vegan?
Yes. Awesome. Good show, bro.
I mean, what do you think of that idea? If you're a gun manufacturer and you sell to retailers who you know are ignoring the rules and not following the law, they should be able to be nailed. And the law that protects them is bullshit.
Still a gun. Your other package still on the back.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh. Yeah, you're fast. Don't break it. I have 2 left, and that's all I got. I'm sorry. I gotta get the one out here. And I can't go buy one.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if the guns are bought legally, then you can't sue the gun manufacturer because it's designed to do. But if you're selling it